I stood before the giant bulletin board, plastered with vibrant posters for the upcoming spring musical, The Grand Masquerade. The audition line stretched longer by the minute, laughter and chatter echoing through the glossy hallway. I was both excited and anxious. My hands gripped tightly onto the handles of my crutches. My name is Noah Parker. I'm 16, a junior at Ridgewood High School in Illinois. I was born with a deformity in my right leg, so these crutches have been a part of me for as long as I can remember. I've learned to live with them, but the way people still glance at me, some with pity, some with barely disguised curiosity, sometimes makes me want to disappear. But I have music, and in music, I am free. I live for those dazzling Broadway melodies, for the feeling of standing beneath imaginary stage lights every night in my small bedroom. Last year, I sang at a church charity event, and against everyone's expectations, I won first place in the community talent contest. That night, the dream of being on a real stage truly took root in me. But from that night forward, Jake Sullivan's eyes on me were never the same. Jake is the head of the drama club, Ridgewood's golden boy, handsome, wealthy family, a powerful voice, the school's poster child. Really, losing to me at last year's talent show must have been a stain on his otherwise flawless resume. As I approached the registration table, I saw Jake flanked by his usual entourage, Lily, the TikTok queen, glued to her live streams, Marcus, the social media instigator, and Ben, the school's gossip king. The moment Jake spotted me, a sly smirk curled at the corner of his lips. Noah. Wow, didn't expect to see you trying out, he said, voice dripping with mock surprise. I kept my tone even. Why not? The auditions are open to everyone. Auditions are open to. Jake stepped closer, resting a hand on my shoulder in a way that felt more like a clamp. His fingers pressed harder than necessary. True. Everyone's welcome, he said smoothly. It's just the lead role has a lot of complicated choreography. The stage can be a little slippery. We wouldn't want any accidents in front of a live audience. Would we? His friends chuckled behind him. Lily whispered just loud enough for me to hear. Let's hope he doesn't face plant mid-performance. I swallowed the lump rising in my throat. Just get through the audition, I told myself. I'll let my performance speak for itself. When my name was called, I stepped onto the stage. The tap-tap of my crutches echoed across the wooden floor. I had trained myself to walk with confidence, even as dozens of eyes followed my every move. Under the bright stage lights, the world seemed to hush. I scanned the room, filled with students and teachers. In the front row sat Ms. Harper, our arts teacher, her face unreadable, brow slightly furrowed. Beside her was a girl I hadn't noticed before, soft brown curls framing her face. Her eyes unreadable. I closed my eyes and inhaled deeply before starting, "You raise me up." My voice trembled a little on the first line, but soon I found my rhythm. My breath steadied. My voice soared. The music wrapped around me, and for that brief moment, the crutches vanished. The whispers faded. There was only the song. Only me. When I finished, I opened my eyes. A few scattered claps came from the front rows, but almost immediately, whispers and stifled laughter rippled from the back where Jake and his crew sat. Jake stood, holding the audition sheet, his voice thick with faux sympathy. Noah, honestly, your singing was great. But the lead role involves a lot of movement and complex staging. We wouldn't want to put you at risk. We think you'd be better suited for some of the backstage work. He glanced at his friends, flashing a smug, knowing grin. Marcus nudged Ben. They barely contained their snickering. Lily chimed in softly, her voice sharp as a needle. How considerate of him. I stood frozen. Something inside me cracked wide open. No one objected. No one spoke up. The entire auditorium sat in complicit silence. Leaving the stage, I walked down the long, empty hallway. Each step felt heavier than the last. But I didn't cry. Not this time. I was used to the pitiful looks, the half-baked sympathy, the backhanded comments. But this was humiliation, and it cut deeper than any wound. I lifted my head, forcing back the lump in my throat. Only one thought burned inside me: I will not let them define my worth. I swear it. 3 days after the audition, an email from the drama club landed in my inbox. Thank you for your participation. Unfortunately, we were unable to find a suitable role for you in the spring musical. Cold, blunt, not a single word of encouragement. I stared at the lifeless words in my trembling hand, reading them over and over again. But I had seen this coming. Jake had orchestrated it all from the start. What I didn't expect was that it wouldn't end there. Monday morning, the moment I stepped into class, something felt off. The stares I received carried a strange mix of curiosity and ridicule. I quietly unlocked my phone. On Ridgewood Connect, the school's internal social network, a post from an anonymous account called Ridgewood Insider was blowing up. Some people just don't know their limits. Was bombing the audition not humiliating enough? Rumor has it he lost control during last year's performance and had to be pulled off stage by a teacher. Now we see why the committee is concerned about stage safety. The comments were already flooding in. Taunts. Mockery. Plenty of familiar names, Lily. Marcus. Ben, the usual crowd more interested in drama than truth. Fresh drama alert. Y'all. Wait, I thought they rejected him because of the limp. Now it's some mental breakdown, too. Ridgewood's a school, not a rehab center for charity cases. I froze. My head burned. My heart pounded as my eyes locked onto Marcus's comment. Honestly, people like that should stick to working backstage. Or better yet, stay on the outskirts of society altogether. After class, I tried to make a quick escape to the parking lot, but Jake was already waiting. That same smug, half smile painted his perfectly curated face. Relax. Noah, he said with a shrug. It's just rumors, as long as you don't overreact. Nobody really cares. I locked eyes with him. What are you so afraid of? Jake, that I might beat you again like last year. His expression darkened for a split second. Then he let out a low chuckle. Beat me. Oh, Noah, that little church fair? That was a joke. This is real theater, for real performers, and people like you. Well, you know your place. His friends snickered behind him. Lily held up her phone, whispering into her live stream mic, exclusive after-school drama. 5-star content. I gripped my crutches tighter, forcing myself to stay calm. If I lost control now, I'd be playing right into their hands. That night, I tried to act normal when I got home. But Mom noticed instantly. She was sitting at the kitchen table, soft yellow light from the overhead lamp casting shadows across her worried face. You okay, Noah? Everything all right at school? It's nothing. Mom, the audition didn't go well. That's all. She watched me for a few seconds longer, as if deciding whether to press. Finally, she simply nodded. If you ever need to talk, I'm here. I nodded stiffly, forcing a brittle smile before heading up to my room. But the storm wasn't over. 2 days later, the school called Mom in for a meeting. When she came home, her face was pale. She tried to smile when she saw me, but I could see the subtle tremble in her hands. I overheard part of her phone call with a colleague while she stood in the kitchen. Yes, I absolutely deny those allegations. I've never shown favoritism toward any student, nor abused my position for my son's benefit. I just worry. This is getting out of control. Another knife twisting deeper into me. They weren't just targeting me anymore, they were dragging my mom into it too. I clenched my fists so tight that my nails dug into my palms and drew blood. I couldn't let them keep manipulating everything. I knew I needed a plan, but I also knew I couldn't pull this off alone. That night, I sat frozen in my bedroom, my phone face down on the desk. The school's social media was still ablaze with vicious rumors about me and my mom. I had never felt so utterly alone. I needed someone to believe in me. Suddenly, I thought of Mrs. Linda Grayson, my old music teacher who retired last year due to health issues. She had once performed on Broadway. Her voice was still legendary to generations of Ridgewood students. She was the first person who ever truly praised my voice. After that charity concert at church last year, I remembered her words vividly, Noah. Your voice has fire. That fire will carry you through anything as long as you're brave enough to face it. I took a deep breath and hit the call button. Noah. Her voice came through after a few rings. It's been a while. What's going on, sweetheart? My throat tightened. I need help. I don't know what to do. There was a short pause. Are you home right now? She asked gently. Yes. All right, stay put. I'm coming over. 15 minutes later. She was sitting in our living room. My mom looked surprised to see her, but quickly excused herself upstairs, leaving the two of us alone. I told her everything: the audition, Jake and his crew, the online attacks, the lies about my mom. Each word scraped at my throat as hot tears streamed down my face. Mrs. Grayson listened in silence, her eyes narrowing thoughtfully as she processed every dark corner of my story. After a long moment, she placed a warm hand on my shoulder. Do you know why they're doing this to you? She asked softly. I looked up, my voice barely a whisper. Because I'm different. She shook her head, smiling with quiet warmth. No, Noah. Because you have something they can't buy: real strength. That's what kids like Jake hate most. I lowered my head, my hand gripping my crutch tightly. But now, I don't have any chance left. She studied me for a moment, then spoke slowly. Opportunity isn't something people hand to you. Noah. Sometimes, you have to create it. I looked up, confused. What do you mean? Remember that charity performance last year? You stunned an entire room into silence. Now imagine doing that, but in front of the whole school, right in front of everyone who mocked you. My heart pounded. But how Jake controls the entire show? We don't need their show. We'll make your own performance. On opening night, when no one expects it, when the stage needs saving. My eyes widened. It was insane. She gave my shoulder a light squeeze, her eyes sparkling. Do you dare? Fear and excitement tangled violently inside me. But then I took a deep breath and nodded firmly. I'll do it. From that day forward, every afternoon after school, I quietly slipped into the old music room tucked behind the library, a forgotten space few ever visited anymore. There, Miss Grayson was waiting. An old, upright piano sat in the center. Afternoon sunlight filtering through dusty glass panes, casting soft beams across her determined face. We begin with breathing, she instructed. For days on end, we focused on breath control, volume, pitch, and emotional delivery. I had never trained this seriously before. Some days my leg went numb, aching so badly I couldn't stand and had to sit halfway through. But every time I felt like quitting, I heard her voice in my head. They'll laugh if you stop, but they'll go silent if you keep going. We worked on the song I'd secretly started writing during those first painful days of humiliation. Words I had never dared say aloud now became a bold declaration. You see my crutches, you see my scars, but you don't see my fire. With each session, I could feel my voice growing stronger, more powerful. Mrs. Grayson taught me not only how to sing, but how to command presence, how to hold my gaze, to stand with intention, to transform my so-called weakness into the very heart of my story. My crutches were no longer burdens. They were part of the narrative I was about to unleash. One week before opening night, after we finished rehearsal, Mrs. Grayson sat beside me, her tone suddenly serious. But Noah, you need to be prepared. They'll try something. They'll find ways to stop you. I nodded, I know. But this time, they won't. She smiled, pride shining in her eyes. I was ready for my moment. The final week leading up to opening night, the energy at school was electric. The bulletin boards were plastered with the Grand Masquerade posters, while Ridgewood Insider kept pumping out behind-the-scenes teasers and cast interviews naturally. None of which included me. I kept going about my days as if nothing bothered me. But every afternoon after classes ended, I quietly slipped away, disappearing into the old music room behind the library. There, Mrs. Grayson and I continued rehearsing until the sun disappeared behind the gymnasium. She drilled every tiny detail into me: how to stand, how to hold my gaze steady under the blinding lights, how to deliver each line straight into the audience's hearts. Music isn't just about singing. Noah, she reminded me, it's about the message. When you open your mouth, that entire auditorium will know you are not their victim. I nodded, my chest tight with determination. I had never felt so ready. But I knew Jake and his crew were likely scripting their next moves too. 2 days before the performance, as I reached into my locker, Marcus Jake's loyal lapdog was already there waiting. That same smug grin stretched across his face. Heard you've been busy lately, he sneered. Working on some special project? I kept my tone cool. Everyone's got hobbies. Sure, but you know, Noah. He leaned in, lowering his voice. Some people around here know every little corner of that stage. They know exactly how to make certain surprise acts suffer technical glitches. I tightened my grip on my crutch, forcing my hand not to tremble. Appreciate your concern, I replied calmly, but I have full confidence in our school's professional standards. Marcus winked, turning away with a little wave like we were old friends. My head burned with rage. That evening, I found my mom sitting on the couch, hands wrapped around her mug of tea, eyes distant. They haven't stopped. Have they? She asked softly. For the first time in weeks, and I told her the truth. They won't stop. Mom, but neither will I. She stared at me for a long moment, then offered a bittersweet smile. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Noah. But I need to prove it to myself. She reached out, gently cupping my face. I'm proud of you. Opening night finally arrived. The entire school buzzed like a festival. The auditorium filled early with excited chatter. The tech crew bustled about, double-checking lights and sound. The stage shimmered under dozens of brilliant spotlights. I wore simple attire, a crisp white shirt and black slacks, and waited just behind the curtains. My heartbeat thumped in rhythm with the audience's footsteps echoing beyond the walls. Mrs. Grayson leaned in close, whispering, "Remember the plan. Just wait for the signal. If everything goes right, once the last act gets delayed, they'll need someone to fill the gap. That stage will be yours." I nodded, clutching my crutch tightly. There was no turning back. The musical began. I watched each scene unfold from the shadows. Jake, in the lead role, sang flawlessly, his dazzling smile beaming into the livestream cameras. The audience roared after every scene, but midway through Act 3, a sharp static buzz suddenly burst from the sound system. A few stage lights flickered erratically. Then, complete silence. The auditorium murmured in confusion. Jake's composure slipped. The tech crew scrambled frantically. Just as expected, the system had been tampered with. And I knew exactly who had orchestrated it. The stage manager called out, "We need a filler act immediately. Who's available?" Miss... Grayson whispered something quickly to the manager, who nodded in agreement. Then a voice boomed from the overhead speakers. "Special performance Noah Parker solo." The entire auditorium froze. I heard whispers ripple through the crowd, a few chuckles. But I was already stepping forward. The spotlight blasted into my face, searing hot, and in that exact moment, I heard Mrs. Grayson's words echo in my mind. "Sing as if the whole world is listening." I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and began to sing More Than What You See. The first note rang out, and I could feel my heartbeat pounding violently in my chest. The spotlight was so bright it seemed to burn away every whisper, every murmur from the crowd below, but I blocked it all out. You see my crutches, you see my scars, but you don't see my fire. The words sliced through the heavy tension like a blade. At first, silence. No clapping, no murmurs, just my voice steady, clear, and resonating across the auditorium. My eyes scanned the crowd, faces frozen in shock, some with mouths agape, others filled with discomfort, especially the cluster of cast members peeking from stage left, where Jake, Marcus, and Lily stood pale as ghosts. But I kept going. You whisper behind me, you mock what you see. But inside, I'm stronger than you'll ever believe. Every lyric landed like a blow, one for each humiliation, each whispered insult, each pitying glance I had endured at Ridgewood. The high notes I drilled with misses. Grayson for weeks now rang out with solid, metallic power. This wasn't the timid boy they used to know. Not anymore. Somewhere in the audience, a few tentative claps broke the silence, and then more joined. I kept singing, my gaze steady under the burning lights, as if the entire world beyond them had ceased to exist. By the time I hit the final chorus, the whole auditorium was on its feet. Applause thundered around me, shaking the walls, echoing to the rafters. I released my final breath as the last note faded. My hands gently rested on my crutches. The hall erupted, parents standing, some wiping away tears. I felt my own eyes sting, but I clenched my jaw, maintaining a steady smile so they wouldn't see the tears of victory. I had waited far too long for this moment. While the applause roared, suddenly the massive screen behind the stage lit up, usually reserved for scenic projections. The entire auditorium turned toward it as a video began to play. Security footage from backstage 2 nights ago filled the screen. Jake, Marcus, and Ben crouched over the lighting and sound control panels. Marcus's voice came through crystal clear. "Make sure the system glitches right during the show. If anyone tries to sneak in a performance, they'll never get the chance." Got it? Dead silence. Applause stopped mid-air. An icy wave of shock swept through the room. Backstage, I caught a glimpse of Jake panicking, trying to slip away, but a tech crew member swiftly blocked his exit. The one who had triggered the video, my friend Alex, the lone technician who had always quietly stood by me. I turned back toward the audience and bowed deeply. No mocking laughter this time. Only wave after wave of applause, loud cheers, and excited chatter rippling through the rows. Phones were out, live streaming the unexpected turn of events. In the front row, I saw Ms. Harper's warm, glowing smile. Principal Collins whispered briskly to his assistant, then stood abruptly. His stern gaze locked directly on Jake and his crew. As I exited the stage into the backstage hallway, Mrs. Grayson was already waiting, eyes glistening with pride. "You did it," Noah. I exhaled, my voice raspy. You were right. The music made them listen. She squeezed my hand gently. This isn't the end. It's only the beginning. At the far end of the hallway, Jake was being escorted by two members of the school's disciplinary board into the internal investigation office. He shot one last venomous glance at me, his face tight with hatred, but this time he was the one retreating. For the first time, I felt truly free. The next day, Ridgewood exploded. Every hallway, every lunch table, every corner of the campus buzzed with only one topic: the performance. Social media was flooded with videos of my song and the incriminating backstage footage of Jake and his crew sabotaging the show. Hashtags like "I use justice for Noah" and Noah Parker shines spread beyond just our school. Some student-run TikTok channels even edited full highlight reels of my emotional performance. I had never imagined my story could travel this far, but I also knew this attention would only make the other side more desperate. That afternoon, I was summoned to an emergency meeting at Principal Collins' office. My mother sat beside me, her face tense but her eyes shining with pride. Across from us sat Principal Collins, Miss Harper representing the arts department, and the district's legal counsel. Noah, Ms. Parker. Principal Collins began slowly, after thorough review of all evidence and surveillance footage. The internal investigation has confirmed deliberate sabotage orchestrated by Jake Sullivan and his associates. All students involved have been placed on temporary suspension pending the disciplinary board's final decision. My mother squeezed my hand tightly, holding her breath. Collins continued. Furthermore, all unfounded allegations against Ms. Emily Parker have been investigated and dismissed. Her professional reputation is fully restored. I turned to see my mom's eyes welling up, her lips quivering into a small, relieved smile. Weeks of silent pressure finally lifted off her shoulders in an instant. But Collins paused, turning to me. I would like to hear directly from you. Noah, do you wish to continue your involvement with the arts program here at Ridgewood? I exhaled deeply. Yes, not just for myself, but to prove that anyone deserves a chance if they work hard enough. Collins nodded, satisfied. Good. I am officially inviting you to take the lead role in next spring's production. In addition, the Illinois State Arts Council has reached out. They would like to schedule an audition for you in their upcoming regional talent showcase. My heart swelled so hard it felt like it might burst. That evening, after everything settled down, I received a message from Alex, my friend from the tech crew, the one who had secretly helped expose Jake's plot. Told you. The stage isn't always controlled by the ones in front of the lights. Sometimes, the ones who run the lights hold all the power. I smiled and replied, Thank you, Alex. Without you, I couldn't have beaten them this beautifully. His response made me smile even wider. It wasn't about beating them. It was about reclaiming what was already yours. But I also understood, though, Jake's group had been suspended. The shadows still lingered. Jake's family was one of Ridgewood's biggest donors. There were forces even Principal Collins couldn't easily defy. Sure enough, days later, my mother received a discreet warning from a colleague on the school board. The Sullivan family was pressuring the board to challenge the video's legality, arguing privacy violations. I don't want you dragged into any more mess. Noah. My mom sighed. I gripped my crutch, eyes steady. We've come too far. Mom, it's their turn to be afraid now, not us. When the disciplinary hearing finally took place, the tension inside the conference hall was thick as a final battle. The Sullivan family had hired a high-profile attorney, seated confidently across the table. Jake sat beside him, pale, jaw clenched, unable to meet my gaze. Their lawyer droned on about privacy rights, the legality of surveillance footage, painting Jake as a misguided boy caught up in a harmless prank. Then the district's legal counsel stood. His voice was sharp and firm. Ladies and gentlemen, let's not lose sight of the facts: intentional sabotage of school property, premeditated tampering with safety systems, spreading malicious rumors to defame and discredit both a fellow student and a faculty member. Miss Emily Parker. The video was played again, right in front of the board. This time, no one from Jake's group dared to argue. Finally, Principal Collins delivered the verdict. The board has voted. Jake Sullivan and all involved parties are suspended for the remainder of the academic semester. Furthermore, the Sullivan family's donor privileges to Ridgewood High are hereby revoked. The final bang of the gavel echoed through the silent room. I heard my mother exhale beside me. For the first time, the boy who once sat atop Ridgewood's social throne was quietly escorted out. And for the first time, I stood tall with no one shielding me in front. 3 months later, spring arrived early. Fresh green buds sprouted along the tree-lined path leading to Ridgewood High, as if signaling a brand new beginning. Opening night for the school's new play, the rising dawn had finally come. This time, I stood center stage as the lead, no longer hidden behind the curtain, no longer sheltered behind pity, no longer the kid with crutches in their eyes. The auditorium was packed. In the front row sat my mother, Mrs. Grayson, and Alex, my friend, who had helped change everything that night. But this time, the crowd wasn't filled with whispers of doubt. Instead, every face radiated expectation. I stood beneath the soft stage lights. The intro music swelled gently around me. My hand lightly rested on my crutch, but my mind was completely free. My voice soared strong, confident. No one laughed. No one pitied me. There was only applause after every scene, growing warmer and stronger, like a fire being steadily fed after months of struggle. When the final curtain fell, the auditorium erupted into a standing ovation. I was engulfed in a feeling I couldn't quite describe, a weightless, glowing pride. As I stepped off stage, my mom rushed forward and hugged me tightly, as if afraid I might vanish. Noah, I'm so proud of you. Her voice cracked. I've never seen you shine like this. Mrs. Grayson joined us, her eyes sparkling, and I always believed you could do this. But tonight, you've gone beyond anything I imagined. I embraced them both, feeling their warmth sink deeply into my chest. Then came an unexpected visitor, Mr. Stephen Hayes, director of the Illinois Rising Stars program. I'd only known him through the audition email a few weeks ago. He reached out and shook my hand. Young man, your performance tonight was outstanding. We've been following your story since winter. I'd like to formally invite you to the Chicago Regional Semifinals next month. If you're ready. I stood frozen for a moment, unable to believe what I was hearing. My mother gently squeezed my shoulder, steadying me. I smiled. Yes, I'm ready. A week later, Ridgewood's administration held a special ceremony. My mother, Emily Parker, was officially reinstated as the school's arts advisor. She was also appointed head of Ridgewood's new talent development program, focused on discovering and nurturing students who had long been overlooked. Mrs. Grayson was honored too, recognized for her role behind Ridgewood's most inspiring story of the year. As Principal Collins spoke, I noticed countless younger students looking at me with admiration, the very kind of looks I once only dreamed of. As for Jake and his crew, they had quietly left Ridgewood after the disciplinary ruling. The Sullivan name was scrubbed from the donor plaques. The ones who once sat at the top had faded into shadows of memory. The night before, I was set to leave for Chicago. I returned alone to the auditorium. The stage lights were off. Only a few faint maintenance bulbs cast dim reflections onto the cool wooden floor. I stepped slowly to center stage, unhooked my crutch, and stood tall. My heartbeat was steady. No more fear, no more wounds. Only the gentle echo of my voice filling the empty space. I did it. I lifted my eyes to the high ceiling, and I knew this was only the beginning.